Hello my friends, and welcome back to today's video. We are going to talk about how to stay consistent with fitness through depression. Now originally I wanted to make this video about depression and anxiety because I do experience both, but I've decided to split these up into two different videos because depression and anxiety are two separate things and not everyone experiences both. And I am not a therapist. I do not, as of right now, work in the mental health industry, but I do want to cover this topic because it is very relevant to a lot of people and it's something that I understand and it's something that I also go through. So today we're going to talk about how I manage depression and stay consistent with fitness because honestly, it's really hard, especially when you're going through a really tough bout of depression. So let's talk about what depression is. So Google tells us that the definition of depression is a mental health disorder characterized by persistently depressed mood or loss of interest in activities causing significant impairment in daily life. When you are going through depression, you lose that interest in fitness. You lose interest in your goals because you pretty much lose all interest in life. And I know not a lot of people really clearly understand depression. It's something that is still very misunderstood in society. I think a lot of people still associate depression as being sad or being lazy, or it's just not perceived the way it really is and how it feels. It's not sadness. It's so much deeper than that. It's just a complete loss of interest in this feeling of numbness, but neither one is fun. Like, they're both terrible feelings, but depression is much deeper than that. And when you lose this interest in life and daily activities and all the things that you used to love, it can be really confusing and it can be really hard to push through that. And I think this is something that I really feel such an urge to talk about because I hear other personal trainers or people on social media talk about, how to fight through depression with fitness, and a lot of people say you just have to be consistent, you just have to push through. It's not about motivation, but the thing is, we all have some motivation to get up every day and live our lives, whether that be our motivation is our goals, our motivation is empowerment, our motivation is whatever results we get. Like, there is always a motivation. Obviously sometimes we have bad days and it's harder to push through than others, but at the end of the day there's always a reason for what we do. And when we have depression, or at least from my experience, when you're going through depression, you can't find any reason to do anything at all, including take care of ourselves. It can get really bad. Now, obviously there are different levels to depression. I only know my depression. I don't know your depression or somebody else's depression. I just know my experience. And from my experience, when I'm going through depression, the last thing I care about is going to the gym. I can't even get out of bed to shower. It's not always that bad, but it can get really bad. There's been times when I haven't left the house in a whole entire month. When you tell someone with depression you just have to be consistent, you just have to push through and not think about it, sometimes that's not an option. So knowing that, how in the heck do you actually stay consistent with your fitness journey when going through depression? And that's why I wanted to make a video today about how I do it and how you guys can do it as well. I don't always share every single part of my bad mental health because I don't want to put that out to the world, but I do struggle. And if you struggle, I hope this video helps you. So let's dive on into it. So unfortunately, depression causes you to lose interest in basically everything in your life, especially the things that you enjoy. So this includes your goals. So let's say you really enjoy powerlifting or lifting heavy or running. Sometimes depression can make you just completely lose interest in all of those things. So your goals are no longer important in your head because nothing feels important in your head other than survival. But typically surviving just means laying in bed and trying to exist, just to put it simply. So because of that, my first tip is to change your goals. So instead of having your goal be strength-based or physique-based, make your goals about survival and mental health rather than the strength and physique or whatever else your goals are. It's okay to transition your goals. As someone who competes in powerlifting and marathons, I also change my goals. When I am struggling really bad, I don't make my goals about physique or strength or anything. I make my goals about surviving and doing what I can. So that is tip number 1. Mental health is the reason you're going to train. Tip number 2 is to decrease the amount of times that you go to the gym. The reason for this is because if you are struggling, it's going to be harder to push through for 5 to 6 times per week if that's what you're used to. But it is a little bit easier to push for 3 to 4 times per week instead. And oftentimes when we don't decrease the training volume, we'll try to stick to the 6 times per week, and then we'll get extremely discouraged that we're not going to the gym as much as we should be. Then we don't go at all because we're like, well, screw it, I've already missed 3 days, so that's half my workout. No, 3 times per week is a lot still. You can get a lot done, and don't feel like if you have to decrease your training volume that that's going to be detrimental to your progress. Tip number 3, if you are struggling, this means that you might have to change up your training style completely. So let's say that you are following a strength program, but you have lost complete interest in doing strength. That's okay. Follow a program that gets you excited or will get you out of bed. So sometimes knowing that you have to go lift super heavy won't get you out of bed, but knowing that you can go do some bicep curls for 15 reps. Even if it's not beneficial for your goals, it will help both your mind and your body, because again, we've already changed our goals to be more mental health based. So if bicep curls helps your mental health, if ab work helps your mental health, if doing the cardio machines, the treadmill, the elliptical, the Stairmaster helps your mental health, then stick to it. You don't have to follow a program at all. For some people, following a program is most beneficial when you're going through these depression bouts, but for others, following no program and just kind of winging it and just following something that's not about progressive overload can help keep you on track. You do want to follow a program with progressive overload if you have goals of making progress physically, but when it comes to mental progress, it doesn't matter whether you have progressive overload or not. You're moving your body to help your mind. And that's what training for mental health looks like. Okay, tip number 4 is if you anticipate onset depression, for example, when it's seasonal depression time in the fall and winter, I usually anticipate my depression starting to kick in around 3 p.m. So I will train earlier in the morning when I don't feel so much just darkness in my life, physically and metaphorically. Schedule your training programs around the times that you start to experience and feel those things. Sorry about the lighting, it keeps changing a lot. It's cloudy, partly cloudy today, so just like my mood. So thinking about that and paying attention to when the depression typically hits, sometimes it's sporadic and random, but sometimes it is at the same time every day. For me, 3 p.m. pretty much every day, especially in the winter, but even in the summertime. Unfortunately, with depression, we have to schedule our lives around it and try to work around it. And so that's what you can do with your fitness as well. Tip number 5 is to do an at-home workout if you can't get yourself up to go to the gym, because sometimes getting up, getting dressed, having to be around human beings can be mentally exhausting when you're already depressed. So if you can get out of bed, do an at-home workout and don't worry about getting to the gym itself. There's so much you can do with an at-home workout. I have an at-home workout program on my website. I think I just decreased the price to $15. So that's on my website if you guys want to check that out. But there's also tons of free videos on YouTube where you can do at-home workouts there as well. Tip number 6 is if you can't do an at-home workout or an outdoor workout, then go for a walk instead. Going for a walk, especially in the daylight, is great for our mental health because it's great for mental clarity. We get that vitamin D in, which is also very helpful. So if you can't work out, walk, move your body. Tip number 7 is to take it one step at a time. So this is the thing that I typically do the most, because if I think about, oh my gosh, I have to get dressed, I have to put my shoes on, I have to go socially interact with people, I have to be around human beings, what if I cry, what if I have to leave, like who knows what could happen. I force myself to stop thinking about all of that, and I just think, what is the next step to get to the gym? Okay, I need to put on my sports bra. Okay, sports bra is on. What's the next step? And I literally think of it step by step, because I know it might sound, this might be a little bit of the anxiety playing a role in this as well, but I typically experience this with depression too. Typically I get overwhelmed with all of the things that I have to do to get ready, because again, it's hard to do anything, including putting on clothes and socks and getting in the car to drive or getting on the subway. And then once you get to the gym, just think about the next movement you have to do. Don't think about the whole list of all the exercises you have to do. Take it one step at a time. That typically gets the ball rolling, and once you're there, it's easier to get things done. I think for a normal person, they think, well, motivation, discipline. Okay, but if you have not suffered from true deep depression, you will not understand, you know, the fight it takes just to get there. And even once you're there, if you want to leave early, or if you need to leave early, or if you just cannot move forward, then you don't have to. There are no rules here. If you go in there and do 2 bicep curls and realize, I gotta get the heck out of here, I can't function, I'm going to have a mental breakdown, get the heck out of there. And then go for a walk instead, or go lay in your bed. It doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. Everything will be okay. It has nothing to do with being lazy, it has nothing to do with lack of discipline at all, because I'm a disciplined biatch. And you are too. But mental health, when you suffer from a mental disorder, I mean, you're suffering, but you get through it. So don't feel bad if you have to get there and leave. But typically on a better day, it does get the ball rolling. And then once you're there, you're there. Tip number 8 is to recognize that this experience is only temporary. This depression is only temporary. Typically you can't do this when your mental health is really bad, but if your mental health is just, not the best, but not the worst, then typically what I do is I will recognize, hey, this is temporary. I'll separate the best I can my emotions away from the truth, the fact that, like, I know right now depression is taking over. I know right now I don't care about my goals anymore, but I know that in the future, maybe tomorrow, in a week, in 2 weeks, in a month, I will care. And so I choose to work for my future self rather than for my current self. And obviously this is kind of how we all are as humans. We work for our future self rather than our current self. People who are extremely disciplined, goal-driven, that is how we all function. But a lot of times in the moment, we actually do enjoy the work. We enjoy the journey. But with depression, there is no passion in the journey. There is no motivation in the journey, and there's just a complete loss of interest. But despite that loss of interest, there are times when you just have to recognize, okay, right now I've lost interest. I don't care about this. So it can still be really hard in that position to work for your future self, because when it feels like you've lost interest, you just kind of lose interest in your future self as well, which is really hard. But you just have to try your best in some scenarios to push past that and recognize that this feeling is only temporary. That will be sometimes enough to continue pushing through with your typical programming. And tip number 9, if your mental health is that bad where you cannot leave your bed at all and it's been days or weeks, fitness just needs to go on the back burner. You need to not worry about fitness at all. Worry about taking care of yourself and your mental health. Self-care. When I say self-care, I don't mean face masks and cleaning your room or whatever that meme is that's going around. I mean, seek help and take pride in that. Go to a therapist, go to a psychiatrist, whatever you need, and get the help that you need, because it can be life-changing, truly. I would highly recommend that regardless, but if you're not already going to therapy, I would recommend it if you can, because it will change your life. And I want everyone to feel okay and be able to accomplish their goals, both in fitness and in your everyday life. If you are in a really bad position, move your body in ways that you can, just because it's great for mental health. Those are my tips for what to do if you are struggling with depression and how to stay consistent with your training. Now, obviously that is when you're going through a bad bout, and when you're not going through a bad bout, you just have to get on a program and follow a program as usual, because obviously to see results you do want to stay consistent with your progressive overload in training. And ironically enough, this video is more so how to consistently stay inconsistent, or inconsistently stay consistent, whichever one that is. But the point is, this will help you and your fitness goals more than anything, and this is how I personally stay consistent. These are all the tips that I have used throughout my training career, which has been about 8 years of consistently being inconsistent with training. And just because I'm consistently inconsistent doesn't mean I ever stop. There have been maybe 2 months every so often where I just completely stop training, but most of the time I am consistent. Just how my program looks definitely changes with my depression. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. That helps spread this to other people who are struggling, who want to see this video as well. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.